Hey guys, how's it going? This is Lorenzo from LPU HQ, and can you guys see me? Yes? Kind of? Alright, so today we're trying something new. This is a live Q&A with a band member from Linkin Park. We have chosen some awesome questions from Linkin Park Underground members, and we have a special guest here who's an LPU member from Los Angeles who's going to actually be conducting the interview with Rob. So I'm going to go ahead and introduce her. Her name is Dana. Dana, come on in.
Hello.
Hey, Dana. So you are from Los Angeles, correct? Or what is the town you're from here in Southern California?
Yeah, I'm from Los Angeles. I live in Redondo, which is probably about 20-25 minutes away. So yeah, born and raised.
Awesome, awesome. And tell me a little bit more about your experience as an LPU member. I know I've known you for a few years since I moved to LA and started working for the band, and I know you're a dedicated Linkin Park fan, but also a very big Music for Relief supporter. So tell me a little bit more about your experience as an LPU member.
Well, let's see. I joined LPU in like 2010, I think. I wasn't one of the early ones. I joined right around 1,000 Suns, and that was my first like big tour when I saw them. And at the time, memberships were like $10 a month, I think. You had to pay monthly. It
Yes,
wasn't like a year-long subscription.
Different times, I remember that.
So I joined then, and ever since I have been a member just because I've met some amazing people. The band has put on amazing shows, and luckily, fortunately, thanks to you, I've been a part of a few fun things. One of my favorites, I think, was the Sunset Strip show when we did like guerrilla marketing promotion on the street.
That's right.
That was really fun.
That was awesome. I remember you guys essentially went street team style and took flyers to venues such as Disneyland, The Grove, which is a big mall. For those of you who don't know, The Grove is an awesome mall here in Los Angeles near West Hollywood. And they were promoting the show on the Sunset Strip. Awesome. Well, I think enough about me. I think it's time to bring in the special guest, and I'm going to get up from his seat and bring in Rob.
Hello.
Hello. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm awesome.
Thanks for coming down to our office to do this.
Yeah.
It's really fun for me because I personally I like the human connection and human touch in any conversation or interview, and I think for me doing the chats have always been great and there's lots of good questions, but I wanted to find a way to kind of really connect more with our fan base and with the LPU. So I appreciate you coming down here to represent. And you're bringing with you, I know, some questions from people in the fan club, and you have some of your own questions too. So I'm happy to get started and answer this.
Thank you. Well, first off, I thank you for coming up with this idea because I don't think it can get like any more personal than this. So this is really awesome for me. I'm excited, and let's start.
All right.
So first off, I wanted to start with the album because I know a lot of people are really interested in what you guys have to say, if anything, about the new process. I know from social media, Mike has kind of given us little tidbits and little behind-the-scenes previews of things. You know, on Facebook, he did like the live stream, I think it was yesterday. He showed you guys like around the studio where you could watch it online live. My first question is a personal question. How do you think incorporating like social media affects the creative process of making the album?
Well, I think I would like to think that social media doesn't have an effect on the actual creation of what the album is going to sound like, but more it's a tool for us to share what we're doing in real time with our fans, rather than having people wait until the album is almost done. I think it's a way, you know, we've always been super inclusive with our fan base, and I think we're definitely, the fan base that we have definitely motivates us to keep doing what we're doing, and I think that communication back and forth, if it's like a communication like this, like we're sitting down talking, or if it's at a show, and obviously we have our fans there, or if it's like a backstage experience, you know, the interaction for us with our fans is definitely something that has a really positive influence on what we do, and I think it really inspires us and energizes us to keep working hard and keep wanting to make great music. The thing with making a record is, I think to make the best music possible, you have to really kind of go, it's more of like an internal process with the band, with each individual and with the band members, to really like dig deep inside to see what really is motivating us and what we want to do artistically. So it's important for us to kind of keep that intact and not never get to a place. And we've never done this, get to a place where we're trying to guess or guess what people want to hear from us, because I think that's kind of, as much as we'd like to do that, I think it's like artistically it's kind of a recipe for disaster.
I think with social media it kind of keeps us guessing because it's suspenseful for us.
Yeah.
You know, which when he shows us little bits and pieces of the studio and what instruments you guys are working on, it kind of keeps the users and the viewers guessing a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's really fun for us, for
Yeah.
me personally.
Well, the thing with making a record is we don't really know what it's going to ultimately sound like at the end when we
Right.
start.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, in a sense, like we just keep going into the studio and like the album kind of starts, like reveals itself to us as we're working on it.
That's awesome. All right. I have a fan question here from Lincoln Park, Mexico, Imas. What's your favorite part of making a new album?
My favorite part of making a new album, I mean, the most obvious answer would be when we track drums, since I'm a drummer, and we made like the Hunting Party. The drumming on that was really, really fun for me. It was we incorporate both live drums and electronic drums
Right.
and samples and all that stuff in. So some albums we've done in the past have been more electronic driven, and the last one was more acoustic drum driven. So that was really fun for me.
Yeah.
Tracking, it was really challenging too, because I had to play stuff and play kind of like a lot faster than I normally like to do. I'm kind of like a more chill, kind of laid back guy.
Yeah.
So like my drumming, I kind of like to be in that pocket of like more of a groove. And Hunting Party really like forced me to step up tempo and endurance and just the type of drumming. So that was
Like A Line in the Sand.
Yeah, exactly. Like A Line in the
That's a great
Sand.
live song, by the way. I haven't seen it personally, but I have watched, the videos. And
Yeah.
it's awesome. Absolutely awesome. Can I piggyback off of that and ask you another question?
Yeah.
Related to that, what's your favorite song to play live? Or songs?
A Line in the Sand is actually one of them. It's funny you mention that, because that song, you never really know like how a song is going to translate live until you do it.
Yeah.
Like some songs we thought were great in the studio or great on that album, they just didn't translate live as well as we would have liked. And Line in the Sand was one that, for me, takes all my focus, and I got to give 100% when I'm playing that song, and it really translated really well live. So like, as tiring as that song is to play, the energy that comes off of the audience and our fans when we're playing it makes it a lot of fun for us.
Great. Another fan question from Elizabeth Flores. Do you have a certain method of how you incorporate your own sound into the songs?
I think kind of, for me personally, that method kind of changes from album to album. As far as the actual, you mean like the actual sound of the drums,
your drumming style.
Yeah, well, drumming style. One of the things that's really fun playing drums in Lincoln Park is that there are other band members, Mike in particular and Joe, that also program drum patterns. So I'm playing certain things on the live drums and they're programming certain things. So there's a lot of collaboration that goes on with the drums, and I've learned a lot from Mike, like stuff that I wouldn't naturally play on my own. He would maybe program some stuff and pass it over to me, and I kind of have like, all drummers and everyone that plays an instrument, they kind of have like, all have their own like feel. So even if you play something that sounds one way program, it's gonna sound differently. And for me, like approaching the sounds of the drums, I think we have some really talented people that know way more about drum sounds than I do. So we kind of rely on people to come in and help us in the studio, drum techs and people that have ideas about the drum sounds, and we listen to tons of different stuff when we're making a record, and then it's kind of always obvious to us, like the sounds or the snare or whatever it is that just kind of sits well in the song. It just seems really obvious that that's the right one. So I also listen to I'll listen to a lot of other drummers and other bands. Like if I kind of feel like I'm trying to come up with something for a song and I'm not really nailing it, then I'll go and just kind of start listening to all different types of music until I find the right thing that kind of helps inspire me.
Nice. Really quickly, I have a question that I think the viewers might really want to know the answer to. We have a pair of drumsticks right here, and there's little numbers written on the bottom. I don't know if you can see that, but there's like a 6 and an 8. Can we see that? Yeah. Can you explain to us what these numbers are for?
I mean, I almost want to make like a contest out of that. I mean, this would be really, really.
I know what they're for because
Oh, do you
they
know?
were told. Yeah, they told me earlier,
okay,
but
well,
I don't
so-
think a lot of people know. If you have a drumstick, I
Yeah,
know from Rob.
I mean,
they have
maybe we
numbers
should
on
do
it.
like if anybody that's watching this,
If they know what it is.
if
like,
anyone can give us the correct answer during this chat,
that'd be
what should we
awesome.
give them?
Drumsticks.
They give them these drumsticks.
Yeah, can we do
Okay.
that?
Okay, so
Yeah.
during this chat, anybody can actually guess why there are numbers on the backs of these sticks, and I'll give you a little bit more clue. That there's an 8 on here. They range from 5 to 9, and if anyone can guess it, you'll get the drumsticks, and if not, then we'll decide at the end if I'm going to reveal or we're going to continue on
I'll let you
the
decide.
contest. Okay.
All right. I have another question here from Haley. Who were some of your musical idols growing up? Or I guess musicians who inspired you?
Well, the first band I played in, we covered Nirvana songs.
Nice.
As a drummer, I got really into like Earth, Wind and Fire and Tower of Power, Sly and the Family Stone, James Brown. I loved kind of like funk music, which that was the most fun to kind of figure out the drum patterns and really like kind of rack my brain for new ideas and how to learn how to play. The first concert I ever went to, I'm kind of like grouping in a lot of different inspirations because like there isn't like one single thing. It kind of all kind of pulled together. The first live concert I saw was Aerosmith, and I got to go backstage. I got to like kind of see how everything worked, and so Joey Kramer from Aerosmith was always a big influence because I saw him play when I was probably in the 3rd or 4th grade, and I thought it was so cool. And I played piano at the time, and within like a year or two later, I had transitioned to play drums.
Cool. Here's another question from Veronica Pipoli. I hope I'm saying that right. What's one of the most challenging songs you've ever played, either live or in the studio?
Well, definitely, I would say there's probably all of the most challenging songs I played probably fall in the Hunting Party. I think Guilty All the Same was the first song that we tracked, so I would say that was probably a bigger challenge in the fact that I was kind of adapting to playing that style of drumming for that record and didn't realize like how much it took to go in and track it. Because when you're in the studio tracking, and then this record we made it on the Hunting Party, we made it a point to track from the beginning to the end of the song and try and get one take all the way through. Yeah. Where a lot of times in the studio you kind of get good sections of the song and then you'll kind of like edit it together. We wanted to have a really continuous take, so playing that over and over again physically was draining, and mentally there was a lot of things to remember. And we were also, when you're recording, you're also trying different variations, and so that was probably the biggest challenge. And once I got through that, then the other songs, which some of them are actually more challenging to play than Guilty All the Same, they became kind of a lot easier for me.
How many hours did you typically spend in the studio just playing?
When we track drums, like we'll usually spend, we'll be there for about 8 hours, 10 hours, and probably tracking about half of that. Another half is kind of like listening back to stuff and coming up with new ideas and all that.
Another question. Do you prefer when you're in the studio making an album or when you're on tour, traveling?
I probably like being at home a little bit more than being on the road. Just like naturally I like to kind of like be around family and friends and all of that. But in context of like actually what we do professionally, like in the studio on the road, they kind of, if they're in balance, meaning like we don't spend too much time in the studio and we don't spend too much time on the road, they're equally as fun. Like, because as soon as like we're done making a record, the first thing we want to do is go play it. So then we get out on the road and we play it. But I think for me, like after about a year and a half on the road, if we don't come home, it starts to feel like, okay, like this is starting to not be as fun as it should be. So that's why we actually are really kind of like aware of balancing that out.
All right. We have a question here from Evoba. What's the greatest achievement of Music for Relief, and where do you see the organization in the future? I know you guys
Well-
have played like some intimate shows for Music for Relief
Yeah.
and for a lot of benefit concerts.
I'd be since you're really
Live.
involved. Since you're really involved, I'd be curious to know what you think about some of those, because I know what my answers are. But
I've been to a couple. I think my first like benefit show was the Secret Show for Japan, and that was my favorite just because I was introduced to the bees, and the bees
Yeah.
were amazing that night. And then the show itself was really fun, and it was for a great cause for Japan. I also went to the concert for the Philippines a couple years ago, and that was a really intimate show. It was at a very small venue, and I just thought, you know, the cause. We had a bunch of other musicians that, you know, donated things, and we raised a lot of money for it.
yeah,
And so I think Music for Relief has kind of springboarded forward a little bit over the last couple of years with getting more people involved, bands and different volunteers, I guess.
yeah,
I've met lots of people through Music for Relief, and it's been really fun for me.
yeah. Cool. I mean, those are definitely, like, I would say some of my highlights too. The first show that we did at the inception of Music Relief was back in 2005, and that was it was a show at the Forum with No Doubt and Jay-Z. That was a very memorable night. It was the biggest fundraising night that we I think have done to date for Music Relief in one day. And you know, to touch on a little bit about like what the future of Music for Relief looks like, or what my goals for it would be, I think just to have more people like yourself involved and spreading the word about what we're doing, because you know there's certain charities out there in the world that raise a ton of money and have been around for a long time, and Music for Relief we raise a decent amount of money. It's like a very healthy amount, but one of the things we do best is we bring awareness to a lot of things that are happening in the world, and the power of awareness is huge. So the more that our fans continue to support that and spread the word, and the music community comes together to kind of spread that word, I think the more powerful it will be. And I think we've done really well. We have great fans, and one of the things about Linkin Park fans is that they're so involved in everything we do. It's like it's a very intimate connection we have with our fans, and it's been like that from the very beginning. Like when we first started out, we were mailing our tapes out of my apartment, and my home phone number was on the box.
Blows
So
my
like,
mind. Like
so
I
that's
can't
kind
even
of like,
imagine having to send out like snail mail stuff like that
yeah.
nowadays. It's
Because
crazy.
it was our fans that, like, you know, it was a struggle to make it in the music industry, and it was our fans, the feedback we were getting from the first 10 people, which became 20 people, like they were encouraging us, like, you guys are doing something cool, keep doing it. Otherwise, you know, the industry was saying, like, we don't quite know about you guys, we're not quite sure, like maybe you shouldn't do this, we're not going to sign you, whatever else. Like if we would have listened to that and didn't have the fans supporting us, we would have probably given up at some point.
Right. All right. Another question. This one is from a Line LP fan. What do you do in your time off when you're not on tour? What are some of your hobbies, I guess? Or
My
things that
favorite
you like to do?
my favorite thing to do is to be at the beach and to surf.
I like the beach. How do you balance? Oh, this question is from A Scott 1223. How do you balance your family and social life when you write a new album, or during that time when you're in the studio working on new stuff?
Well, I think in the studio it would probably be some of the easier time. It's an easier time for I think everyone in the band to kind of balance social life and family life along with making a record, because we're physically at home. And so even if we're in the studio for a few hours a day, we can go home and sleep in our own beds and see family and friends. And like, I think the challenge becomes when we tour. And when we first started off, we used to spend, I think, not way too much because we kind of needed to do that in the beginning, but we were gone for a very long time, and you start to miss family and friends and kind of feel isolated in that. So I think the challenge is to really balance that on the road. And the way we do that is kind of like we'll set up to tour for 3, 4, 5 weeks. Like make a leg that's up to 5 weeks long, and then we'll balance it with a little break in between before the next leg of the tour.
Yeah, not too
starts.
much at one time,
Yeah.
because it can get a little hectic. What are some of your favorite places to tour, or is there anywhere that you want to tour? Hopefully with the next album.
I know we have a ton of fans in India, and we haven't gone, and I'd like to go there. Because I like the beach, I obviously love going to like New Zealand or Australia or anywhere that's like South America, anywhere that's like it's warm and on the water. That's just like because I know on days off I can go surf. we did a tour in mainland China. We did 5 stadium shows in last July, and that was really exciting.
Speaking of China, I have this awesome photograph that I know you guys took there.
Oh yeah.
And this comes in the new LP13 bundle, which I want to show the fans if I can. Yeah?
Cool.
And yeah, if you guys haven't purchased this yet, I would recommend it. Comes with your demo CD.
I didn't get mine yet.
Coupon card, and then limited t-shirt. Well, this is really big. What size is this? It's huge. And then fancy limited. So this is really cool. Did you?
Who do you think's having the most fun in China at this date? Just looking at our faces, if you had to pick.
If I had to pick?
Yeah. Which band member's having the most fun?
I think Brad. I don't know. Can you see it? I mean, this is a really good photo in general. I think
Yeah.
Brad.
Looks like we're all having fun. But
Yeah, everybody's having fun. Chester's cool. He looks pretty energetic, I guess. All right. Anyways.
Have you done this before? Have you interviewed somebody before?
No.
You're good at it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Does it seem like I have experience doing that?
I will honestly say
I don't think
that
I've actually interviewed anybody like.
Okay. You're probably better than some professionals that I've done interviews with, just so you know.
Really?
Yeah. I won't name who, but.
Huh. Maybe I should change my profession.
Yeah, if you're interested in it.
Maybe. Let's see. I think we got through most of our fan questions. I have a couple more, I guess, I can throw in here. Do we have enough time? Okay, good. This question is also from Veronica Pipoli. Have you ever taught the bandmates how to play drums? Or have they ever asked you to teach them how to play?
Occasionally, guys in the band will sit down behind my drum set and play, but usually it doesn't sound so good. And they haven't asked me for any tips.
Okay. Except for Mike with the digital programming of the drums.
Yeah, if anybody could probably sit down and learn pretty quickly, it would be Mike, because he already plays pretty much every other instrument. So, yeah, as far as like him being able to program, he could probably pick it up pretty quick.
Okay, this question is from Giuliani. I'm not going to pronounce the last. Giuliani, if you were not a drummer, what other job would you pursue? Or do you think you might have become?
Well, I was studying business and accounting at school before Linkin Park, or at the time Hybrid Theory, or actually Zero at the time, kind of started to gain some momentum.
Yeah.
So I've always been like an entrepreneur and like starting businesses and like creating things. So it would have been something probably in business, but also like I probably would have started like my own thing. Some what?
I was a business major, so I can relate to that
Oh,
a little
cool.
bit. This question is from Leon Ninkovich. What was one of the funniest moments while you were on tour? Or any special ones that?
One of the well, we kind of played pranks on each other once in a while. It's kind of rare, but
Who's like the prankster of the 6?
actually probably Brad.
Really?
Yeah, you wouldn't expect it, but I think
No, not at all.
well, he kind of instigated this prank. Like about probably 3 or 4 years ago, we were finishing a tour. We had a couple shows left. We were in San Francisco, and there was a moment in the show where I was doing a drum solo, and at the end of the drum solo, I would signal basically with the way I was drumming for the rest of the guys like to come back in. So Brad thought it was funny just to see like how long I could keep going.
Oh, you know what?
And-
I think there's a
yeah.
YouTube video out there,
Yeah.
or like an LPTV video of that, and I've seen
Yeah.
it.
So at the end of the drum solo, you kind of give everything you got.
Yeah.
And then like you're ready for the band to come back in and start playing again. So they didn't come back. He kind of signaled the guys to stop, and so they didn't come back in, and I had to keep playing a drum solo. And after I did it like the second time, I realized that they were just screwing with me. So I don't remember how I recovered or what I did. So the next night, the part that I didn't think that was very funny at the time. The next night, I told Brad like I'm gonna get you back, and you know, I let him think that it was gonna be some random time over the next like year or 2 years. Well, I retaliated the night after, we came to LA to play a show.
What'd you do?
And that same part of Bleed It Out, when Brad was kind of starting his like little solo section,
Yeah.
I had all the guys in the band leave him on stage on his own and just out there doing his thing.
That's awesome.
Until it became like a little uncomfortable, I think, for everybody, and then we came back out.
Alrighty. Well, we're actually running out of time, so thank you for doing this with me. It's been one of a kind and something that I won't forget anytime soon. Any last words? Anything you'd like to say to the fans?
Well, at first, I'd like to thank you for coming and doing this. You did a great job.
Oh, thank
you. You know, like any interviewer, like if the person interviewing is comfortable and prepared, just like you are, it makes the interview like so much more.
I was not
It
prepared.
You seem very
I came in
prepared.
here
It makes it much
expecting
easier
nothing,
for
so-
me to do, and I think the fans end up getting a better interview. So you did a great job.
I hope so.
And,
thank you for your
you-
insight, because I know the fans have been wanting to hear, you know.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know if we got any answers on the drumsticks, but maybe we'll just kind of leave that out there for now.
Yeah, I saw a couple of answers, and I'm going to go through them with Rob later, and if there's a winner, we'll announce it on the LPU Facebook.
Okay,
All right.
sounds good. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.